from the local station. This is Weather Authority Weekday.
Good Monday morning. Happy belated Mother's Day to you. I'm sorry the weekend wasn't that great. We had a back-to-back rainy days here extending into last week, and today is no different. But there will be some drier weather coming up here. That is going to be Wednesday, but for this morning it has been a washout. Fortunately, the rain has been moderate to light, not seeing any real significant flood concerns out there. You notice in Georgia, you really not even gotten into much of the rain. But as we zoom in on this map, you can see a pretty good batch of rain working through Duval County through the morning, and there have been some clusters of heavier downpours coming in across southern Duval up and out of Clay County. You can see all that red pushing across St. Johns County, so that's going to put down at least 3/4 to an inch of rain, because it's going to take a while for this to clear out. But it will be clearing out by the late morning hours, and through the middle portions of the day I'm expecting to see somewhat of a lull once this wave of rain moves off the coastline. In fact, there have been 2 waves of rain. The first one fortunately missed us during the pre-dawn hours. That's out here over the Atlantic, but it's the second batch here coming up from Central Florida, which has made for a very slow commute for some folks. And you can see it extends all the way down along the I-4 corridor. So if you're looking for a window to drive south on the interstates, it's just going to be a really tough go until maybe your window around lunchtime. So by noontime, that's a better chance for going out there. Now, it's not going to be dry this afternoon. There's still some afternoon storms that will be firing up, and those will last into the evening. So the rain chance today is at 100%. So count on seeing these downpours with us here through the afternoon. Now, as we head into the evening, I think we're going to see some improvements, but it's going to be cloudy and definitely not a great beach day. In fact, here you can see it is a lonely, lonely shoreline. No one's out there other than the guard patrol that were driving their trucks earlier. Things are pretty quiet out there, and the heat is tempered, obviously, because of the dreary conditions. So don't expect to see much movement on the numbers today. We'll probably top out in the upper 70s, and that's about it. So why so wet? Well, you can see this churning mechanism, this area low pressure, which has just been fixated on the lower Mississippi Valley all weekend long. It has not moved. The reason why it's stayed in one spot is the jet stream is well to the north. We call this a kind of a cutoff low. So there's no upper level winds to steer this out of here. So we've seen wave after wave of moisture just coming up, riding right out of the Gulf of Mexico and up through Florida, and that has just made for very wet conditions here for our area. Now, as we head into Wednesday, that thing should finally eject on out, but notice how rain chances go back up to around 3 and 4 o'clock to about a 100% chance for afternoon showers. So there was high conviction yesterday when I was doing the weather that today would be a washout. We're certainly seeing that. So the question is timing. Now, here's a model showing just widely scattered showers. So unlike the steady rain that we're getting out there now, that steady batch moves away, and then we'll start to see some scattered showers push through. And you could call it on and off. That's what it would seem like to us. But they'll be scattered, and here's the 6 o'clock time with pockets of rain working through the river. And then once we get past around 8 o'clock, I think things really start to taper off. So this energy will move out into the ocean, and notice how dry it gets overnight into Tuesday morning. So tomorrow's commute hopefully will be a little easier for you, since I'm not expecting such a wet start on Tuesday. And then the rain amounts tomorrow are going to be half as what they are today. We're going to see only a 50% chance of rain, and those showers will likely move in from the Gulf, and it's going to be after 1 o'clock. So from around 3 to 4, we'll get that rain coming through, and then by 7 o'clock, most of that moves out away, and we're actually looking at a pretty dry evening tomorrow, and then Wednesday it's smooth sailing. But once we get rid of the rain, we start talking about the heat, and that's going to be the theme of the forecast going through the rest of the week. It's going to get really, really hot for us. Let's take a look here over the past 24 hours. These are some of the official rain gauge amounts. You could see over the weekend, especially last night, that there was one thunderstorm that rolled up from Marion County into Alachua and brought down over an inch and a quarter there, and really dropped the mother load in southern Georgia. Places like Waycross picking up about 2 inches of rain. And we're seeing those rain gauges start to fill up along Jack's Beach down through St. Augustine. So those are going to catch up to, and those will likely add another inch of rain to the mix here. So for the rest of the afternoon, we're not looking at as much in the way of heavy rainfall totals, anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to possibly 1/2 inch to 3/4 in our southern area. So that's the type of rain that we don't need. I'm sure your swimming pools are already at the brim, and we're going to be kind of drying things out a bit. And it is just definitely great weather for the frogs and the ducks. But so far as you get in your grass mode, today is not the day. So showers and thunderstorms continue, breezy weather, and temperatures limited into the upper 70s. A few spots might actually get to about 80 degrees, but it will be fairly imperceivable until you really start feeling the heat coming back at us for Wednesday. That's when we could crack 90 degrees and certainly well into the 90s. You know, incidentally, the models are going haywire with bringing in 100-degree temperatures for our area. I don't know what's going on with that, so I put temperatures up into the mid-90s. We'll see. I feel positive that we're not going to be dealing with 100-degree heat, but we're going to be dealing with a westerly wind as the system wraps up, and that usually brings us into the hotter type of ranges in the mid-90s, so that's a possibility. And it's going to be real steamy. We'll have plenty of sticky air around as we head through this work week, and so we're going to have heat indices which are going to feel like 100, 102 degrees. So gear up for some balmy, sticky heat with all that humidity left in the wake of this system. But the rain system just shuts down. There's your Thursday, there's your Friday. You don't see any rain coming our way. So back to the dry weather we go. Hopefully the several days of rain that we got put a dent in the drought. The drought index will come out on Thursday, and hopefully that does take us back out of that moderate drought that we've been in through our area. So rain chances to continue to drop off here as we head into the evening, down to around 60% tomorrow. It drops further, and notice the dry air takes over here as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You notice the temperatures really start to heat up. So we are looking at a big change from this past weekend to the upcoming one. Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at great beach weather. It's going to be warm, it's going to be dry. It's just the type of weather to spend by the pool and kind of make up for, well, the hibernation that we may have had. So hopefully you got some books read, maybe your house is a little bit cleaner after this soggy weather that we've been dealing with the past several days. So there are some interesting things. You know, can you imagine something falling down from space? It's about 3 feet wide, weighs like the weight of a car. Yeah, it happened this weekend. So we're going to talk about a piece of space junk and where it fell, and also talk about one of the smallest full moons that you could see in the sky. Yeah, the flower moon. All right, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about those details coming up here right after this break. Hey everyone, are you ready for what's in the sky tonight? It's out of this world, or out of this moon. It's a full moon. So you're wondering, what's the big deal? No, this isn't just any full moon. This is a micromoon, the opposite of a supermoon. You don't hear about micromoons. No, media, they want to talk about the supermoon. So what the heck is a micromoon? Well, it's a little bit smaller. It appears smaller. Really, the size hasn't changed one bit. But to the Earth viewer, it looks about 14% smaller. Really, it's not particularly perceivable, but it is apparently smaller. The reason why is because the moon isn't going around the Earth in a complete circle. It's more of this elliptical. So sometimes when the moon revolves around the Earth, it's a little bit further away. Sometimes it's a little bit closer when it's at a full moon. Tonight, it is actually going to be a little bit further away in that ellipse. So because it's further away at what's called an apogee, it's going to look a little bit smaller. When the moon is closer to us at a perigee, it looks a little bit bigger. Now you know the details of why it apparently fluctuates in size, even though it really doesn't, and it's because it's an elliptical orbit around Earth. So that's pretty cool, micromoons, right? It's also called the flower moon. I don't know why, just because the Farmer's Almanac says so. It gives it a bunch of different names. Flower moon is one of them, probably because it's springtime and the flowers are out there, and sometimes at night when it's clear, you can see the flowers at dark. But you know what? Out of all this hype that I just talked about the micromoon, it's going to be pretty cloudy tonight, so all right, spoiler. All right, on to something even more amazing. This weekend we dodged a bullet. A celestial catastrophe has been averted. There was a piece of space junk that fell down. This is no ordinary piece of space junk. This is space history. For 53 years, a old Russian satellite, it was a probe that was designed to fly to Venus and sample the atmosphere, take pictures. Well, it never made it there. The rocket booster that blasted off failed, and so it was stuck in low Earth orbit, just about a 50 or so miles, or actually a little bit more than that, just whipping around the Earth for 53 years. Well, eventually, anything like that loses its energy, and it gets lower and lower to the point where it falls back to Earth as space junk. So on Saturday morning, people knew that this was going to hit someplace in the Earth, roughly in the latitude of 50 south, 50 north. So that puts it in the band of us. But the good news is it crashed down in the Indian Ocean west of Jakarta. So for folks in Indonesia, they didn't really see it because it was way out at sea, and chances are they will never find this piece of space junk. Remember the Malaysian Airlines flight? That crashed down in the Indian Ocean, and they did massive searches and they couldn't find that. This is only 3 feet wide, so like about a meter, but it's 1,200 pounds. And it was hurtling at Earth at 150 miles an hour. So that is a pretty cool piece of space science that was designed to drop down into Venus. And by the way, when America was exploring the moon, Russia was trying to explore Venus. That was their big project. And they actually had like a dozen successful probes that took pictures. The only pictures humans have ever seen came from the Russian program, and they got some pictures back from there with those probes that actually went down through a crushing atmosphere that is 90 times heavier than our own. It went through the atmosphere with temperatures that were 870 degrees, almost 900 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than a standard pizza oven. So when they built this spacecraft, it was designed to kind of withstand those type of extreme conditions in the atmosphere. So the question I have is, it probably survived the burn in through our atmosphere, and the ablation process probably didn't destroy it. So it might be intact sitting on the bottom of the ocean, and scientists would love to find this thing and kind of reverse engineer the technology that they used in the 50s and 60s, because, you know, making satellites without computers, it's pretty impressive, right? And if it did survive the Earth, then they were on to something really big, and future scientists could use that information. But we dodged a bullet, right? And so that's good news. But you know what? On an average day, about 3 pieces of space junk that size hits the Earth every day. So what we don't know is probably a good thing, at least for getting a good solid night's rest. Well, will there be more rain tonight to put you to sleep? Well, it certainly is this morning, but I think by tonight things are going to start to ease up, and we'll be back to some drier days soon enough. All right, so thanks for watching us here on the Weather Authority Weekday. I'm meteorologist Mark Collins. A little bit of knowledge to help you out on your day.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.